Hi everyone. Well, I'm actually going to try to give you that update on Kansas now. The sun is about to slip away, and it's getting a little chillier out here, but I wanted to do it outside before I went back in, so I'm going to try my best. The lighting might not last too long, but I will do what I can. So, first of all, thank you so much for your prayers for the entire time and everybody that supported me. I know it's been maybe a month and a half now since I got back and just haven't had the capacity to handle the update. So I'm going to go ahead and try to get through it right now as best as I can. So the trip, it was an event. It started out really rocky. There's all kinds of things that happened, and I'm not going to get into all that here because I did leave an initial video update that you can go back and watch if you want, that talks more about getting there in the first half of the week. But there were a lot of exciting things, like arriving at an Airbnb, which didn't work out because of mold, and sleeping in the car the rest of the night, and spending the next day searching for housing all day, and so many things that happened, and yet amazing provision and financial options and being able to get there and have the treatment and so on. So that was so good. I wanted to kind of give you an idea of what a typical day looked like for me. So normally what I would do is I would get up at the hotel, pack my lunch, cook my lunch. For me, packing lunch involves cooking. So cooking that and packing it up to take to the clinic. And then this lady would pick me up every day, and she was someone I had only met 2 days prior to my first appointment. So like right when I got there, and she took me back and forth to the Institute every day, and that was such a blessing. Something I didn't know was going to happen before I got there. And then I would go in, put my stuff in my locker, and then I would spend time with my doctor for the next hour, and he would just do evaluations, treatments, answer questions, do testing, things like that. And those were always my favorite time of the day. Definitely not always easy based on whatever we were working on, but he is just such a wise, kind, caring man, and I really appreciate his wisdom. I feel like he's a big brother to me in many ways. So that was amazing. And then after that, I would do therapies throughout the day. I'd have a break for lunch, and then I would do therapies that lasted anywhere from 5 to 25 minutes individually. And I do anywhere from 4 to 6 of those a day. I can't remember if that's quite right, but that's an estimate. So I definitely had a lot of breaks in between, and the therapies would really drain me a lot. So I would often just try to be sitting there in between and not too present and functional. But I ended up staying at the Institute every day, all day, until usually from 9 a.m. or 9:30 a.m. until 5 o'clock, because that way it was a much nicer atmosphere than my hotel was, and I could work out rides better that way, and I just prefer to be there. So, and it also worked better with the therapies. So that's what a typical day was like, Monday through Friday. It was also a really good thing that we arrived on a Saturday, because otherwise we would have been in trouble with Hannah and I, because we spent all Sunday looking for lodging, and then that would have been a little bit of a problem if I had arrived on a Sunday night and went straight to the doctor with nowhere to stay. So that was a gift too. The main issues and concerns that came up once I got there through lab work and testing and such, and just evaluation, I'm just going to kind of run down a list. I think it'd be easier if you read the text update for this part, because it's kind of boring stuff, but some of it you guys may know, some of it may not. But I'm just going to look at my list here and let you know. Some of the main issues were I have a lot of trouble absorbing nutrients, so there's a lot of malabsorption going on, not breaking down proteins, not absorbing iron, regular nutrients, and so on, which contributes to a lot of things, as you might imagine. I'm also having a lot of trouble, and probably for years I've been having trouble getting water into my cells. So even if I drink it, it's just not getting where it needs to go, and that creates all kinds of issues too. And a lot of it is just sitting like outside of the cells in the tissues, and just sitting there with a bunch of toxins. So that's not fun. I have very high inflammation levels, which was also seen through my platelet count being through the roof. So that's an overall systemic issue. My mitochondria are not functioning well, and are getting what they need, and those are really responsible for energy production in the body, along with other things. My liver, sorry, I'm rushing through this as fast as I can, because the better stuff comes after this. My liver, kidney, spleen, stomach function, and other organs are really struggling, but especially those ones. There's high toxicity throughout my body, including copper and aflatoxins, which come from mold, so the toxicity level is pretty high. My vitamin D and my iron are extremely low. I think my vitamin D is like a 3 or something like that. And other deficiencies are present as well, along with high cholesterol. My bacteria, well, when it comes to the pathogen load in the body, the bacteria and fungi, sorry, not fungi, fungi actually, are supposed to work in a symbiotic relationship, so they should be within balance and like healthily living together or happily living together. And obviously mine is just way out of whack. So the issue is to get them into balance and not just that kill things off, but to get them where they should be. And that will include some DIF, but getting them into proper balance and living with one another. So once that happens, that will help the gut issues to heal more, along with leaky gut and all that kind of stuff, SIBO and such. My immune system is still pretty compromised and not functioning well, as you guys know. A lot of teeth, dental problems as well that need attention. Aging has been like my biological age is like 12 years older than I really am, which is better than I thought it would be, but it doesn't feel good. I'd like to reverse it. Carnitine, that's a big issue. I've always had a genetic issue with that, and it's also a huge player in all this. So that's something that was confirmed as a continual deficiency, lack of function. And those, I'm going to leave it at that for now. That's a good summary of the top things that we're focusing on. So our plan of attack is, while I was there, we did, all these intense therapies, and the therapies focused on improving circulation, improving lymphatic drainage, brain function, organ function, all that kind of stuff. If I were to have local access to some of those particular therapies, at least 1 to 3, it could really help me, but that also, I don't know if they're available locally, so that's something I have to look into. And then if they aren't, you can personally purchase the equipment, but they're pretty pricey. I have some friends that actually own various different pieces of the equipment and use them all the time, and that could definitely speed up my progress, but I don't know if that's something that I should do. The doctor didn't ask me to do it, but I asked him how much it would help, and he said in particular he would find it could be really helpful if I did it like at least one of them. So that's something to consider. What else? I started 8 new supplements and I stopped a bunch of other ones. I also just recently added in betaine hydrochloride, which is going to be really helpful with digestion, as once I'm able to work up to a higher dose. Right now I'm not quite at where I need to be, but I've got it started. And then let's see, sorry, I'm looking at my notes again. I am starting a brain program. I know I've talked about things like that before, but I'm really diving into a brain program by a neuroscientist named Caroline Leaf, and I'm going to be working on that. And my doctor says that even working on improving the limbic system of the brain and getting out of that place will help my immune function as well, while he works on the biological side of it. So we've got like both sides of the coin to work on, and sometimes one of them might be predominant, sometimes another, but they both need attention. So that's my part to do that. And then I'm also trying to work on improving my movement, deep breathing, exercising, stretching. I can't do too much exercise yet, but trying to do whatever I can, and the breathing might help me be able to do more exercise eventually if I can get better circulation going and more oxygen coming in, since that's a struggle for me with lung capacity. And then let's see, and always the goal to add in more foods, but that's kind of hit a little slower spell right now, but once I can add in more foods, that will be great. Also, I will be doing a video follow-up with my doctor in 6 to 8 weeks. We've checked in a couple times since I got back, just because things were really rocky, but we're going to do a real follow-up in 6 to 8 weeks, and at that point he'll determine what comes next when it in regards to labs, treatment, when I'm supposed to come back, all that kind of stuff. So that's the plan. Progress that I wanted to share is, while I was there, I didn't get any additional viruses, which is a huge deal, and I only got exposed to one that actually hit me when I was checking out of the hotel with a lady who was pretty sick. But other than that, I didn't have any that whole week, which is huge. Also, they did a bunch of testing at the beginning of the week, and one of the things that it showed, sorry, the temperature just dramatically dropped. So it happens in Colorado, the sun gets to a certain spot and it's like so warm, and then all of a sudden it's like icy cold. It's probably not icy, but it just feels dramatically different. So I'm talking really fast because I want to go inside. And I've been working this for a while, so I want to get it to you guys. Let's see. So the testing they did at the beginning of the week showed a lot of, really bad things. But one of the things in particular it showed is that with the nervous system, I was relying completely on my limbic system in the brain. And that is the worst thing that you can rely on to live off of all the time, like 24/7. And then where you should be living is in the sympathetic, and that's how you're designed to. But by the end of the week, they showed that I was living off of the parasympathetic, which is your fight or flight. So I had moved forward to a middle ground, and it still wasn't good, but the doctor said that proved that my body was able to do it. So he wasn't saying that, I might not reverse back, which I likely have at times since I've returned back, but the goal is to be able to get to living in sympathetic, and it shows the body is able to make that progress and move in that direction. So those are the progress signs related to the trip. Let's see. And then I wanted to share highlights before I wrap this up. I know I'm talking really fast, so I apologize to those of you that this is too fast, but you can hopefully read the text if that's easier. At least I will get through it. Let's see, highlights. There were 2 other patients there, a mom and a daughter, Melinda and Madison, and they were wonderful people who were so kind, and I just really enjoyed meeting them. It was really a treat to be able to have them there at the same time, and they were just really encouraging. And then I also got to reconnect with staff that I had known in the past and I hadn't seen in several years, so that was a special thing as well as meeting new staff. Seeing the new facility was also beautiful. It was definitely different, but it was a beautiful place. What else? Let's see. Just the conversations with my doctor, always he has such amazing insight and wisdom, and just such interesting conversation that I really appreciated that a lot. Also, that lady I told you who drove me back and forth every day, she helped in many ways, and it was just fun having that connection with her. I even found out that she had spent some time, many years actually, in China with her husband, and my current housemate is from China, as many of you guys may know, so we had an interesting connection there as well. And she used to go to my church back in Maryland, even though I'd never known her then, just for a while, so we had all kinds of connections. Let's see what else here. My paper keeps blowing and I can't see it. Well, okay, a couple more things. Just the provision of having the rides with Hannah Moore, who came all the way out from Maryland to take me. That was a huge deal, and she came a few days early and helped me out. And then Jordan and Elizabeth picking me up, driving out from Colorado to pick me up and bring me back. And they're good friends, and it was nice to just have the time with all of them, just to be able to talk in the car and be together, because that's not something I get very often at all, so that was really special. And then financial provision was amazing. There are some really disappointing things, like losing money to Airbnb because of the moldy place that I couldn't stay in, and not being able to get full refunds and such, but God just provided amazing through all of you guys when it came to the treatment. We were actually able to go over the treatment amount for the week, which enabled me to go ahead and have like a follow-up appointment over video when I really, really, really needed it. So that provision was incredible. All the supplements, initial ones and stuff, got covered, and such an encouragement. And then we were able to eventually work out the lodging and gas and all of that as well. So that was huge. So grateful for that. And then I want to kind of end it with a really special story for me. The first thing I saw when I walked around the corner to see my doctor on Monday morning was a chalkboard where somebody had written, "Some years are for planting, this one is for blooming." And when I saw that, it really encouraged me, because God had already been speaking to me about how he wanted to kind of bring new life this year, and just bring blooming and flourishing and wholeness and mending and things that I've been longing for many years. And so seeing that sign was really special. And then on the way home, my friend mentioned to me a particular song by Andrew Peterson called "The Sower Song," which another friend of mine who initially took me to my very first appointment back in May of 2016, she had played that song during the appointment, and it's called the Sower Song, and it's all about planting and then eventually seeing the seeds come to a harvest. So we were like, oh yeah, that song, and we put it on and listened to it. And while I was listening to it, I suddenly thought about that sign again in the office about some years are for planting, this year is for blooming, and it just took on, that special meaning. And so, especially when my body doesn't feel that way, I was like, I'm gonna stand on this in faith. Oh no, my battery is at 5%. I can't see myself anymore. Okay, I'm gonna rush. So that was a really special thing for me to see that connection. Also, I have to keep reminding myself of it in these really hard days, that that's what's going to happen and what is happening. And it reminds me of a verse in Isaiah 35:1, which I do not have in front of me, but let me see if I can pull it up here, because my computer, my phone going dark on me. But it says, the desert and the parched land will be glad. The wilderness will rejoice and blossom. And I just love that picture of like a dry wilderness coming to life, and that's what I'm believing for. So that's the main update. I'm going to have a text version available as well. And I also just wanted to let you know, as far as upcoming needs go, prayer is the biggest consistent thing. Is just endurance and prayer for the ability to implement all of these treatments and take things and try new things and get on good routines and persevere through the setbacks, because there seem to be so many setbacks every time I get a new virus, which has been pretty much every like I haven't really had a day free from them since I got back, but like I said, while I was there, I had a break. And then just eating bad food and just trying to have the strength to persevere through all that's wrong in my body. But I also need to focus on all that's good. So in wrapping this up, the other needs besides prayer, as far as financial needs go, are enabled in order to be able to go forward with video follow-ups and continuing care and stuff. Those are things that I need to be able to cover that I don't have through my disability. And then just daily needs, like sometimes I'm short on groceries or things like that. So there just are ongoing needs like that would definitely be a huge blessing if anyone wants to help out in those ways. But I'm just grateful that I've made it this far. And then I'm blanking on the last thing. Oh yeah, the equipment thing. Like I mentioned before, I'm trying to decide whether it would be worth trying to do a specific fundraiser for one or two, probably just one, of the particular equipment items. So that's something I could do in a separate update if people were wanting to know more about that. But for now, that's where things are at. And I'll definitely let you guys know what happens once I have the next follow-up, so we can see, where things are going from that point. But thank you again for everything. I hope this update is encouraging to you in some way, and that you are just blessed to see what your prayers and support have made possible. And just thank you for standing with me as I continue to look ahead and see what God will do next. Love you guys.